Scott, the High Growth Stock Doc, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to a new template for EdgeRater, which fits, as the title says, my favorite setup. Now, that's my favorite dog sitting with me on the boat, but my favorite setup is a pullback with reversal. Here's my email for any contact questions. Let's see if I can actually make this work. This way, the old-fashioned way. All right. As a disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. Anything recommends in the spirit of education and investment advice. I'd like to remind everybody that I'm a physician, not a broker, and I'm not sure how many physician traders you know, but most lose money with their investments. And I'm independent, and I have paid for all the tools that I demonstrate. In fact, I paid for my first EdgeRater, like all of you have paid for as well. If you listen to any of my videos, you will know that I have a lot of people that influence me. I don't claim to create science. My job is to learn from the best and then take what I learned from them and apply it. And I learned many years ago from Ian Woodward to become your own guru. At heart, I'm a can slimmer. Reading about it from William O'Neill, and then later getting it really explained to me by Ian Woodward and Ron Brown, my good friend George Lee, who's helped me with a lot of setups from David Elliott and others. And you can see a number of the other influences that I have found to be helpful in my trading. I think as a trader, we should be out there with a plan, and our plan should include what are you looking for? What is your trading plan should be, what do you trade? What is your time frame? What setup do you look for? What are the triggers of your setup? And then do you buy stocks or options? How many do you buy? Where do you put your stops? So what I want to talk about today is my favorite setup. So as I've read all my gurus, it seems to me that all of them talk similar about not buying stocks that are breaking out from an extended perspective, but finding high quality stocks that were in an uptrend that pull back to support and then buy them as they break out from that position. So that's my favorite setup. I want stocks in an uptrend, usually above the 200-day SMA, although sometimes I will go fishing below. I want a pullback to support. That pullback to support typically or often is accompanied by a squeeze as it goes sideways. Free parking is the 50-day moving average, which is a great place to find stocks in a pullback, and the prior base or a recent base. I find stocks that fit my setup. I make my list and wait for triggers, and you see some of my triggers which you hear me talk about frequently on my web sessions. PSAR flips, MOBO, Kahuna, pocket pivots, Bible gap ups, although Bible gap ups are their own setup, are some of my favorite triggers. On the right-hand side, you can see how I place the trade, especially if I'm not going to be by my computer during the day, and the types of stops I use. I don't like to lose money. However, when I get a big winner, if it runs 20% in 2 months, I will take my stop off and let it run. So these are some examples of stocks that I own and bought on pullbacks. Blackstone, I've been a buyer for a long time. In fact, I got back in on pullbacks in the single digits. Blackstone recently was in a big uptrend ending earlier this year. It went sideways and it pulled back. Now, during a pullback, certain things I expect to happen. I expect to see my weekly bongos go red, and you could see during each of the pullbacks they went red. My daily bongos, you can't see them very well here. It's where my point is. They went red quicker and they came out of red quicker as well. And during an uptrend, during pullbacks, typically in a good uptrend, you'll see the daily bongo go red while the weekly bongo maintains green. Another way of doing this is using the force index where my arrowhead is now. The 13-day, which is my long force, usually stays green in a prolonged uptrend, and then you look for the shorter term force to go red, signifying pullbacks. So Blackstone, you can see long-term green on the bongo, mostly green long-term on the 13-day force, multiple pullbacks on the way up. And you notice that these pullbacks stop all the time at free parking, which is the 50-day moving average. It broke down back in March when much of the market rolled over, and I was looking for an opportunity to get back in or add to positions. It came down to the 200, and this is where I get excited. Now, I could buy it where my arrowhead is right here, which was a time of a mobile breakout on this arrow here. Down here are pocket pivots and kahunas. And that actually would have been a great time to buy Blackstone. Now, I use that as a time to sell some of my married puts. And when it broke here above the 50 on this pocket pivot and mobile breakout is when I got back in or added to my position. It's a lower risk entry. When I covered my married puts here, that meant I took off the protection on my long-term holdings. I knew I only had to set my stop a penny or two below that 200-day moving average because that's where it's going to stop. And if it doesn't stop there, I want to be out of my stock. When I buy coming off the 50, I can set my stop just a little bit below the 50. And again, I don't have to give up a lot of risk. And my risk to reward ratio, because I believe it's going to go up from here with only a modest risk to the downside, is very positive. This here is USG Corp. Don't know how it's done since it gave this signal, but again, this has been a little bit of a stranger sideways performing stock. It was a big leader in 2013 early on. It's got great earnings per share growth, which is something I like. And you could see it ran up here into March, and like most of the market, sold off, stopping at the 200-day moving average. So I've got a stock here that's basing upon the 200-day moving average, and I'm looking for a reason to get into the stock. And you could see on this date here, which is June 6th, I had good reason as it broke above the 50-day moving average. It had a kahuna the day before and a mobile breakout the day before. So frankly, the day before was the appropriate buy date. But based upon a lot of times I put my trades on at night and buy the next day, I saw it, I put a trade on in the morning. Again, rising stock, pullback to support, momentum coming in. That's my trade. Here's another one. This is Ambarella. And again, I don't know how it performed, but basically here's a stock that was in a big uptrend, sold off down to support at the 200-day moving average, bounced around the 200-day moving average, and on the day in question, with a mobile breakout and turning green on my bongos and my forces, you can see the group strength in the dark line, Ambarella broke out from a pullback. So what I want are tools to make my life easy and help me find the stocks that are making my requirements for my favorite trade. So I've been a big fan of EdgeRater. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I use it for market timing. I use it for Gil Morales' signals. I use it for George Lee's signal set. And frankly, I always gripe that I want my own signal set. Well, I've got my signal set. It's coming out this weekend, which is June 20th, 2014. And basically the way it's set is I can define my universe of stocks. And then I can define the day I run the test. I specifically wanted to go back and take a trade that I was in, and I'll talk about that trade in a few minutes, and see if it showed up. And basically I'm able to scan a large number of stocks and then find which ones have the yes meet my demands. And here number 18, which is like the number 11 down the list, is JNugget. Now, I don't have, this isn't the spreadsheet, but you can see that it's been moving for a while, which is potentially could be a negative and why it came down further on the list. It's up 28% in 7 bars from its last swing. It had a squeeze 11 bars ago, but its impulse indicator, which we'll get to in a second, occurred yesterday, would have been the 9th. The previous uptrend was 8% up, and then it pulled back 67% of that. So it had a pullback in an uptrend. The pullback, the bar since impulse, you can see here it had a big kahuna, a little kahuna, and a 5-day pocket pivot. So I have my momentum indicators coming in, I've got my pullback, and it showed up on the EdgeRater scan. Now I specifically look for JNugget, not because it's the perfect setup here. I probably want to go look at LinkedIn or PBR based upon the fact they've been in this, they got squeezes on, impulses that day, a lot earlier in their bounce. But I took JNUG. So let me tell you a little bit about JNUG. I presented live down here in Palm Beach at the Palm Beach Traders Group. So I got 25 witnesses that I'm not making this up. And when I was there, I said, let me use HGSI to find the best stock in the market to make a trade on in the morning. Now, this was on June 10th. And just to go show you how I trade my tune, you see a strong uptrend from $12 up to, yikes, 43. And you see it pull back down to as low as 13. So this isn't perfect because it's a pretty deep pullback. But the reason why I found it was I scanned and I looked for a stock pulling back to my 50 with a kahuna. And so now, as you could see, this scan I can automate within EdgeRater, which means I can run it on any list or group that I prefer. And this is the setup. This is my signature setup. I bought this actually pre-market at 1888 in the morning on the 11th. I closed the trade at end of day yesterday after I put it up on the HGSI board. You can see my impulse indicator, my kahuna. And if I go to the next slide, you can see on EdgeRater, the edge event is signaled there. This is the 10th. And you could see the move I had into the end of day yesterday, and I got stopped out in the middle of this bar. So I'm out of the trade now. Pretty nice return in less than a week, and I'll be looking to get back into similar trades. So that's my favorite trade. Pullbacks in an uptrend, getting momentum, now automated for me and you in EdgeRater. If you don't know who I am, I welcome you to come listen to my weekly webinars, which I post at the HGSI website and also on YouTube. I don't charge for anything except for live meetings. My name is Jeffrey Scott. Look up JAS, Cancer Doc. Look up my name. You'll find my webinars, and good luck in your trading. Good night. Oh, last notes. I sort of say this all the time. Be your own guru. Investing is a business. Make sure you have the right employees, tools, and software. Continue your education. Trade the market we have, not the one you think we should have. And then I'll hit the easy button and say goodnight.